Hello again, IP6. So this is lesson 112, which is the second of your 2 Friday lessons. So if you've not watched lesson 111, the first Friday lesson, please stop watching and go back and watch the first video first. If you have already watched the first lesson, then keep watching and we're going to check the homework for that lesson. Okay, IP6, so your homework for the first Friday lesson was workbook page 98. And we had to write these interjections with either an exclamation point or a comma. Number 1, oh my, exclamation point. Number 2, well, comma. Number 3, gosh, comma. Number 4, darn it, exclamation point. Number 5, good going, exclamation point. Number 6, gee, comma. Number 7, oh no, exclamation point. Number 8, oh, comma. Number 9, oh dear, exclamation point. Number 10, hey, comma. 11, good grief, exclamation point. 12, too bad, exclamation point. 13, comma. 14, hooray, exclamation point. 15, cheers, exclamation point. 16, great, exclamation point. 17, incredible, exclamation point. And 18, oh well, comma. So give yourselves a score out of 18. Okay, this lesson today, lesson 6, is about quotations. Now, you've done quotations before, you should know what quotations are, and you should know the rules for writing them, but there are a lot of rules to remember. So we're going to go through those rules. So a direct quotation is when we write the exact words that someone has said. Direct quotations could be at the beginning or the end of a sentence. And we use quotation marks before and after a direct quotation. So we use these quotation marks that look like 2 sixes before the first word someone says, and we use these quotation marks that look like 2 nines after the last word someone says. So have you ever been to Japan? Asked Tai. The words Tai says are, have you ever been to Japan? And the words he says appear inside these quotation marks. Crook answered, no, I haven't. The words Crook says are, no, I haven't, so they appear in quotation marks. When you write a quotation, you always capitalize the first word. So quotations can be later in the sentence, but you still need to capitalize even though you've already started the sentence with a capital letter. So Pupa asked, where did I leave my backpack? I've already started the sentence with a capital letter, but I need another capital letter for the first word that he says. It's outside, replied Tanao. This capital letter begins this sentence, but also the entire sentence, including replied Tanao. If the quotation comes at the end of a sentence, you use a comma to separate the quotation from the words that tell us who is speaking. And we put the end mark for the whole sentence inside the quotation marks. So Jing Jing asked, comma, quotation mark, what day is it? Question mark, which is the end mark for the whole sentence, but then we've got quotation mark. Next one, Claire answered, we've got a comma to separate the word saying who is speaking from the quotation. Then we've got quotation mark, it's Friday, full stop to finish the whole sentence, but then a quotation mark. If the quotation comes at the start of the sentence, it's a bit more difficult. We don't put a full stop inside the quotation marks if the sentence is not finished yet. So, this sentence here, I'm hungry, said Madja. Instead of using a full stop for the statement, I'm hungry, we use a comma to continue the sentence, and the full stop comes at the end of the complete sentence. So we don't put full stops for statements or commands inside these quotation marks when the sentence has not completely finished yet, because we've not used these words that tell us who is speaking. but we can still use question marks and exclamation points within quotation marks before the sentence is over. So, what did you have for breakfast? Asked Yuri. We've got the quotation at the start, and the question mark appears inside these quotation marks, but we still have the words asked Yuri to say who is speaking, followed by a full stop. Nothing at all, cried Madja. Same again, we've got the exclamation point inside the quotation marks, then a full stop. But again, for this sentence, which is a command, then go and eat something, comma, Yuri told her, we put comma before the quotation mark and before the final full stop. Sometimes the words telling us who has spoken are in the middle of a quotation, or in the middle of what that person is saying. And both sides of the quotation need to have a pair of quotation marks. So we use a comma or an end mark, so either a question mark or an exclamation point after the first part of the quotation. If the second part of the quotation is continuing the same sentence, the second part of the quotation will start with a lowercase letter. If the second part of the quotation is a new sentence, we use a capital letter. So let's look at these examples. I think, said Tube, that we should go ice skating. Tube is the person speaking, and he gives us one sentence, I think that we should go ice skating. So we've got a quotation mark, I think, then a comma before the word saying who is speaking, and the quotation marks go after that comma, then said Tube, then another comma because the sentence isn't over, quotation mark, then a lowercase t that we should go ice skating because he gives us just one sentence. Now, in this next example, Otto is speaking, but he says two sentences. I'd rather go bowling. That's its own sentence. But we still put a comma instead of a full stop before replied Otto. But because Otto has completed this sentence, here we're using a full stop instead of a comma before Otto's next sentence. Bowling is much more fun. So this again starts with a quotation mark and a capital letter and then a full stop. Same here. Do you think so? Asked Tube. I've always preferred skating. We've got a question mark here, which means that this sentence is over. So we have asked Tube followed by a period. And then his next sentence, I've always preferred skating, begins with a capital letter. Also something that I'd like you to remember. A dialogue is a conversation between two or more people. And when you're writing dialogue, you need to be careful to explain who is speaking each time. And something that you might not know, if you're writing a dialogue, you start a new paragraph after each person has finished speaking. So don't write two people's quotations on one line. Okay, now please look at page 255, questions 1 to 5. You need to add punctuation to these sentences to make them correct. So you're going to add quotation marks, capital letters, commas, end marks. So there's a lot you need to do. So if you haven't got your textbook, when you pause the video, write on paper. If you have got your textbook, add the punctuation to the textbook. So please pause the video and press play when you've finished up to number 5. So please pause now. Okay, if you have finished up to number 5, then keep listening for the answers. Number 1, quotation mark, what time, comma, quotation mark. Tim asked, comma, quotation mark, does Mom's train arrive back home? Question mark, quotation mark. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things to change in that sentence. If you made one mistake, you can have half a point. If you made more than one mistake, you get 0. Number 2, Dad answered, comma, quotation mark, capital I, it will arrive at noon, full stop, quotation mark. Number 3, quotation mark, I'm sure she missed the city, comma, quotation mark, Tim said, full stop. Number 4, quotation mark, she'll have photographs, comma, quotation mark, replied Dad, comma, quotation mark, and probably videos, full stop, quotation mark. And last one, number 5, quotation mark, maybe she'll have presents for us too, comma, quotation mark, said Tim, full stop, quotation mark, capital W, we want to hear about her trip to the ranch, full stop, quotation marks. So give yourselves a score out of 5 there, please. If you got 3 or below, I want you to rewind the video to the beginning of the PowerPoint and remind yourselves of the rules. There's a lot of rules for quotations. There's a lot to remember. So if you got 3 or below, instead of doing the next questions, I want you to start the video to the beginning of the PowerPoint and remind yourselves of the rules. If you got 3.5 or above, keep watching for the next set of questions. Okay, now please look at questions 6 to 13. Most of these are at the bottom of page 255, but there's also 2 questions at the top of page 256. So I want you to do all of those up to number 13. So you need to do the same thing again. You need to add quotation marks, capital letters, end marks, and commas to complete those sentences correctly. So please pause the video now and press play when you've done up to number 13. So please pause now. Okay, if you have finished up to number 13, keep watching. Number 6, Sherlock Holmes said, comma, quotation mark, capital I, it's elementary, my dear Watson, quotation mark. Number 7, quotation mark, the mere absence of war, comma, quotation mark, stated John F. Kennedy, comma, quotation mark, is not peace, quotation mark. Number 8, quotation mark, I have a dream, exclamation point, quotation mark, exclaimed Martin Luther King Jr. Number 9, quotation mark, a poem, comma, quotation mark, said Robert Frost, comma, quotation mark, begins with a lump in the throat, quotation mark. Number 10, quotation mark, we need our heroes, comma, quotation mark, wrote Eleanor Roosevelt. Number 11, quotation mark, of whom, comma, quotation mark, asked Emily Dickinson, comma, quotation mark, am I afraid, quotation mark. Number 12, Walt Whitman said, comma, quotation mark, I hear America singing, quotation mark. And number 13, quotation mark, where have all the flowers gone, question mark, quotation mark, asked singer Pete Seeger. Okay, so we had 8 questions. Give yourselves a score out of 8. Hopefully by now you're all getting at least 6 out of 8 there. Okay, that is the end of this lesson. Your homework for this lesson is workbook page 110. Please make sure you finish it before you watch next Tuesday's lesson for Tuesday the 26th of January, lesson 113. Very quickly, I'll just show you what to do. Okay, this is workbook page 110. Section A, questions 1 to 5. You need to write those sentences again using correct punctuation. So again, quotation marks, capital letters, end marks, and commas. In section B, there are 5 mistakes. You need to add punctuation or capital letters to fix those 5 mistakes. Okay, IP6, that is the end of our second lesson today. So you don't have to do... Okay, IP6, that is the end of our second lesson today. So please make sure you finish that workbook page before Tuesday. And until then, thank you, IP6. Bye-bye.